Welcome back to the channel, folks, where we dive into the wild, wonderful world of men transforming into women in all kinds of fascinating ways. If that's your vibe, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Now let's jump right into today's story.
Chapter 10, Patch Notes. The silence after Laura's hug was full of possibility, electric and fragile as a soap bubble. Nicole felt like she was vibrating from the inside out, relieved, terrified, raw. Every nerve ending seemed hyper-aware, her new body's sensitivity dialed to maximum as adrenaline coursed through her system. Laura held her at arm's length, hands still resting on Nicole's shoulders, studying her face as if seeing her for the first time. And in a way, she was. Those familiar eyes were searching for Nick in Nicole's features, in the curve of her cheek, the set of her mouth, the expressions that animated her transformed face. Nicole held still under the scrutiny, scarcely breathing, afraid the slightest movement might shatter this delicate moment of reconnection. The office had fallen completely silent around them. Even Brian, usually incapable of restraint, seemed to understand the gravity of the moment, hovering near his desk with uncharacteristic stillness. Laura took a shaky breath, her gaze never leaving Nicole's face. "So, you're telling me my best friend turned into my dream girl because of a VR headset?" The blunt assessment startled a laugh out of Nicole, half genuine amusement, half nervous release. Yeah, pretty much." She rubbed the back of her neck, a gesture so quintessentially Nick that Laura's eyes widened in recognition. "I know how it sounds." "Insane," Laura suggested, a hint of her usual dry humor returning. "Impossible, like the plot of a B-movie that would get terrible reviews on Rotten Tomatoes." Nicole grimaced, all of the above. Laura shook her head, a smile tugging at her lips despite everything. The expression transformed her face, releasing some of the tension that had gathered there. "Honestly, it sounds exactly like something you'd do by accident." She poked Nicole in the shoulder, the familiar gesture somehow bridging the gap between who Nicole had been and who she was now. "You always did beta test things the hard way. Remember the time I crashed the entire office network trying to optimize the coffee maker's scheduling algorithm?" Nicole said, grateful for the opening to lighter territory. "Or when you gave yourself a mild electrical shock because you thought you could improve the standing desk mechanism?" Laura added, her smile widening. "In my defense, it did go up and down faster afterward," Nicole protested. "For exactly 8 minutes before it caught fire," Laura countered. They both laughed, the sound breaking the last of the tension that had hung between them. Nicole felt something loosen in her chest, a knot of anxiety beginning to unravel. "I guess I finally found a bug worth keeping," she said, gesturing at her transformed body. The joke was weak, but Laura's smile in response was like sunrise after a storm. Laura's eyes softened as she studied Nicole anew, her gaze more thoughtful now, less shocked. "You're really still you, aren't you? Just, with better hair and a killer wardrobe." "And about 70 fewer pounds of muscle," Nicole added, looking down at her slender arms. Where Nick's body had been all angular planes and functional strength, Nicole's was soft curves and surprising delicacy. Her wrists seemed impossibly small, her fingers long and tapered, nails naturally oval where Nick's had been bluntly practical. "It's like trading in a pickup truck for a sports car, same driver, completely different handling." Laura's eyes followed Nicole's gesture, taking in the dramatic changes with newfound understanding. "It must have been terrifying," she said softly, "waking up like that." "Terrifying doesn't begin to cover it," Nicole admitted. "Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing a complete stranger, but feeling every sensation through their body. Their skin, their hair, everything." She made a vague gesture encompassing her chest, not quite ready to discuss the more intimate details of the transformation. Laura nodded, her analytical mind clearly trying to process the impossible. "And Brian was there." "He found me in the bathroom having an existential crisis," Nicole confirmed. "If he hadn't been there," she trailed off, unable to finish the thought. From his position near the desks, Brian gave a modest bow. "Just doing my duty as best friend and crisis manager. Though I will say, I didn't have help friend navigate sudden gender transformation on my 2023 bingo card." Nicole grinned shyly at Laura, grateful for Brian's attempt to lighten the mood. And I've gained a newfound appreciation for underwire. Seriously, why don't they make those things more comfortable? It's like wearing a medieval torture device. That broke the tension completely. Laura laughed, loud and bright, the sound bouncing off the glass walls of the office. Nicole felt some of the fear that had been coiled tight in her chest slip away, replaced by cautious hope. The patriarchy, Laura said with a knowing nod. Wait until you experience the joy of pants with fake pockets, or heels for more than an hour. Or period cramps, Brian chimed in. Both women turned to stare at him, eyebrows raised in identical expressions of skepticism. What? He protested. I have 3 sisters, I've heard things. Laura shook her head, amused, then her face grew serious again. She moved to perch on the edge of Nicole's desk, her legs swinging slightly. I have so many questions. Nicole nodded, settling into her chair and looking up at Laura. The reversal of their usual positions, Nick typically taller by several inches, was yet another strange adjustment in a week full of them. Ask anything, I owe you. Laura settled into the rolling chair opposite Nicole, spinning it absently as she gathered her thoughts. Her fingers tapped a rhythmic pattern against her thigh, a nervous habit Nicole recognized from countless coding sessions. Did it hurt? Laura finally asked, her voice soft with concern. The change. Nicole shook her head, remembering the strange, dreamlike quality of that night. No, it was like going to sleep and waking up. New. She ran a hand through her auburn hair, still marveling at its silky weight. But everything felt different. Not just my body, my feelings too. She struggled to put the experience into words, how the transformation had altered not just her physical form but her entire way of experiencing the world. Colors seem brighter. Scents are more complex. Touch is intense. She flexed her fingers, remembering the heightened sensitivity that had made even simple things like brushing her hair or feeling fabric against her skin into new experiences. I don't know if it's the hormones or what, but I feel things I never let myself feel before. It's like someone turned up the volume on emotions I used to keep muted. Laura leaned forward, fascinated despite herself. That's actually consistent with some research on hormonal influences on perception and emotional processing, though obviously not the complete physical transformation part. She cocked her head, studying Nicole. And how detailed was the change? I mean, everything. The question hung in the air, its implications clear. Nicole felt heat rise to her cheeks. This new body blushed so easily, her fair skin broadcasting every emotion in high definition. Everything, she confirmed, her voice dropping to a near whisper despite the empty office. Down to the cellular level, as far as I can tell, my DNA probably reads as female now. She gestured vaguely at her form. All the external changes are obvious, but the internal ones are just as complete. My center of gravity is different. My muscle memory had to reset. Even my taste buds changed. Things taste different now. Fascinating, Laura murmured, clearly torn between scientific curiosity and emotional processing. She chewed her lip thoughtfully for a moment, then asked the question Nicole had been dreading. And us? Was any of that real? The query hit Nicole like a physical blow. This was the heart of it, not the transformation itself, but what had grown between them in its wake. Nicole's heart thudded painfully against her ribs, each beat seeming to echo in the quiet office. All of it, she said without hesitation, leaning forward to meet Laura's gaze directly. Maybe more real than anything in my life. She swallowed hard, fighting past the tightness in her throat. As Nick, I always admired you, was drawn to you, but I never knew how to express it, how to bridge that gap. She gestured at her body. Then this happened, and suddenly all those walls were gone. I just didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to lose you. She looked down at her hands, so different from Nick's calloused programmer's fingers, yet still hers. And then it got complicated so fast. One day I'm trying to figure out how to walk without falling over, and the next she trailed off, the memory of their kiss bringing another flood of heat to her cheeks. Laura was quiet for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Nicole waited, heart in her throat, for judgment or rejection. Then Laura surprised her by reaching out and threading their fingers together, her touch gentle but firm. You're an idiot, Nick Wolf. The use of her old name, spoken with such clear affection, made Nicole's eyes sting with unexpected tears. I know, she agreed, voice thick with emotion. Laura smiled, a little teary herself. But you're my idiot, whatever package you come in. The acceptance in those simple words was like a key unlocking something in Nicole's chest. She squeezed Laura's hand, relief washing over her in a wave so powerful she felt lightheaded. Though I have to say, Laura added, a mischievous glint returning to her eyes, the new package is pretty spectacular. Whoever designed your avatar had excellent taste. Nicole burst out laughing, the sound startled and genuine. I designed it myself, in the VR simulation before everything went sideways. I had all these customization options and I just thought, she shrugged, embarrassed. If I was going to be a woman, even virtually, why not make it count? Well, you certainly didn't hold back, Laura teased, her eyes trailing over Nicole's figure with new understanding. Jessica Rabbit would be jealous. I may have gotten a bit carried away with the sliders, Nicole admitted, glancing down at her generous curves. Though in my defense, I had no idea it was going to become permanent. Brian, who had maintained a respectful distance during their heart-to-heart, finally couldn't contain himself any longer. You should have seen her face when she realized she'd basically turned herself into a walking fantasy. Priceless. I've seen your browser history, Brian, Nicole shot back. Let's not throw stones, shall we? They laughed, and after a while, Laura's curiosity took over again, her analytical mind unable to resist the puzzle before her. So, what's next? Are you stuck like this? Have you tried the VR headset again? Nicole shrugged, spreading her hands in a gesture of uncertainty. No idea. Brian's been trying to hack the VR prototype, but so far nothing. We can't figure out how it did this in the first place, let alone how to reverse it or control it. She ran a hand through her hair, a nervous habit that translated perfectly from her male to female form. I could wake up tomorrow as Nick again, or I could stay Nicole for good. The headset itself seems normal, Brian added, approaching to join their conversation now that the emotional intensity had eased. Standard VR tech, nothing special. No weird radiation, no alien components, nothing that would explain. This, he gestured at Nicole. Maybe it's not the hardware but the software, Laura suggested, her mind clearly already working on the problem. What was the program called again? The Girlfriend Experience, Nicole said, grimacing at the cheesy name. Elmore said it was supposed to help men understand women better. I thought it was just a simulation, not a, she gestured at her transformed body, total immersion package. Laura squeezed her hand, her expression turning serious. Do you want to stay? The question was gentle, direct, typical Laura, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. Nicole hesitated, searching Laura's face for clues to what answer she might be hoping for. Did Laura want Nick back, or had she truly formed a connection with Nicole that transcended the physical form? I think so, she admitted softly. I'm scared, but this, being with you, feels right, in a way it never could before. The admission hung in the air, vulnerable and honest. Laura smiled softly, reaching up to brush a lock of hair from Nicole's cheek, her touch lingering against Nicole's skin. Then we'll figure it out together. But for the record, if you suddenly turn into a lizard person, I'm out. Nicole burst out laughing, the tension dissolving into something lighter, more buoyant. No promises, though with my luck, I'd end up as one of those frilled lizards that looks like it's wearing a Victorian collar. Very fashion-forward, Laura agreed solemnly. You could start a trend. The weight between them lifted, replaced by something lighter. Hope, maybe, or the start of a new kind of connection that bridged their past and this strange, unexpected present. Just then, Brian poked his head in, holding 2 coffees and a bag of bagels. He'd slipped out during their conversation, giving them privacy while ensuring they wouldn't starve during the emotional marathon. Am I interrupting, or is this a good time for a debrief/group therapy session? I come bearing carbs and caffeine. Laura grinned, waving him in. You're just in time. Nicole was about to explain the finer points of being a woman. Like I'm qualified, Nicole protested. I've been female for all of 4 days. I still can't figure out how to hook my own bra. It's all in the wrist action, Laura demonstrated with an elaborate hand gesture that made no sense whatsoever. Brian handed Laura a coffee, raising his eyebrows at Nicole. Please, I've seen her try to run in heels. She's got a long way to go. It was like watching a baby giraffe on an ice rink. That was a fashion emergency, Nicole defended herself. We were late for the restaurant, and I didn't have time to practice. You nearly took out an entire display of sunglasses, Brian reminded her. The saleswoman looked like she was one wobble away from calling security. Nicole tossed a napkin at him, but her smile was genuine. The teasing felt normal, grounding, a reminder that beneath the extraordinary circumstances, they were still friends. I'll learn, she promised, especially if I have both of you as my support team. Laura squeezed her hand again, her expression warm with affection and something deeper, something still tentative but full of promise. Always. And as they sat together, laughing and sharing bagels, Nicole realized she'd found something even stranger and more wonderful than her new body. A family that accepted her in any form, that saw beyond the physical to the person beneath. Whatever came next, whether she remained Nicole or found a way back to being Nick, she wouldn't face it alone. The thought was as comforting as it was terrifying. This new body might still feel foreign in many ways, its responses and sensations still surprising her daily, but the connections she'd formed were solid, real, anchoring her through the storm of transformation. Brian passed around napkins, making a show of his generosity. So, what's the plan? Are we hunting down Elmore, hacking the VR, starting a support group for victims of gender-bending technology? First, we eat, Laura said decisively, reaching for a bagel. Then we think, this is too big to tackle on an empty stomach. Nicole nodded, accepting the bagel Laura handed her, one step at a time, together. The word hung in the air, a promise and a declaration. Together, they would untangle this impossible knot. Together, they would face whatever came next. And for the first time since waking up transformed, Nicole felt something like peace settle over her. Whatever happened next, whether she remained in this new form or found a way back to her old self, she had people who would stand by her. People who saw her for who she was, regardless of the package she came in. It wasn't a solution, not yet, but it was a beginning.